Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 681, and today's date is May 30th, 2015, and the title of this episode is Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Now, before I begin, I just want to let everyone know that I uploaded the interview with Wolf Richter. You can go right to the X22 Report Spotlight. You can listen to it right there. Or you can come to the X22Report.com site. It is on the right-hand side. Now, those people who are on the alert email system, you should have received an email to let you know. And those people who are subscribed to the X22 Report Spotlight, you should have received an email from YouTube letting you know that the interview has been uploaded. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, we understand out in Cyprus, the people have been under capital controls for a very long time. They weren't allowed to take out money, transfer money. The banking system took about 47% of their money. This was all done with a bail-in. And of course, the central bankers, the government is out there saying that this is going to be good for the people. But what we are seeing, it was not good for the people. A lot of people lost their businesses. A lot of people had a very tough time surviving. They're still having a tough time surviving. And when we look at the unemployment rate in Cyprus, going back to 2013, we see the unemployment was at 15.9%. And now the report has come out for 2014, and we see the unemployment rate has gone up to 16.1%. And we're seeing this a lot in various countries throughout the Eurozone where unemployment continually goes up and the country receives more and more debt. With Cyprus, they've been bailed in. And again, it did not help the economy whatsoever because, as we know, that wasn't the point of it. The point of it was to help the banking system. This is what the money printing is all about. It has nothing to do with helping the people whatsoever. Now, we understand that Greece, at this point in time, cannot make the next payment. Maybe they'll figure out a way to create money out of thin air, like the central bankers, but at this point we could see that they're broke. They dipped into the emergency SDR from the IMF, and right now they're considering missing a payment, but they'll have to make all those payments at the end of the month. We see more warnings coming out from the United States Treasury Jack Lew. He warned on Friday of a possible negative effect for the world economy if Greece and its creditors miss their deadline to avert a debt default. U.S. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew repeated warnings that European creditors and the IMF should not underestimate the risk of an exit that may generate instability in global economy. They're very worried about this, and it looks like at this point in time, Greece might exit. I mean, I think the percentage is getting higher and higher. Last percentage was at 70%. But from what we're seeing right now with Russia extending its hand, offering about 5 billion euros in advance for the Turkish Stream pipeline, we see right now Greece is preparing and will most likely submit a request to participate in the new development bank, the BRICS. And it looks like it might secure Russia's support on the entire issue. And this is coming from the Russian Deputy Finance Minister. And we're starting to see that they're filling out the paperwork. They're getting ready to make this move. And I think this is why we're seeing all these warnings coming out from the U.S., because I think there's going to be an exit. And we're going to have to see what occurs when this happens. Now, of course, the bankers are getting prepared. They've been preparing for this. And of course, they're saying that this is not a default. This has nothing to do with the banking system. So we'll not pay out anyone for derivatives or credit default swaps or anything like that. And we're going to have to see how this really plays out, because we're coming into territory that we have never seen before, where the country is going to default. Other countries are going to look at this and say, you know something, they went to the BRIC system. They're spurring economic growth in this country. And we might see country after country say, you know something, we are going to do the same exact thing. We see here in the United States, the economy is looking down. It's not improving. I mean, many people are trying to make the case that yes, it is improving. And they did this prior to 2008, where they told everyone that things are improving. Housing is fine. Retail's fine. There's nothing wrong. Everyone is crazy out there. Well, it turned out all those crazy people were absolutely right, and all the sane people were crazy. And we're heading down that path right now. We see here in the United States, housing is completely falling apart. We know for a fact that real median household income is still 7% below 2007 levels and sits at the same level as 1989. We know for a fact that wages have been stagnant since 2007. We know for a fact GDP has barely broken 2% since 2009, and now they can't even get it over 1%. Actually, it's been in the negatives, and now they're going to manipulate the calculations for GDP to try to bring that right back up. They've done this in the past. Every time the economy slips, they seem to end up manipulating the statistics. We know for a fact the price of healthcare, food, energy, tuition, rent, and other daily living expenses are dramatically higher since 2009. We know mortgage originations are at 1997 levels. We know housing starts are 60% below 2005 highs, and at levels seen during the 1991 and 1981 recessions. Existing home sales are 30% below the 2005 highs, only up 10% from 2012. And when you look at this, we know that housing has not improved. There is nothing free about this market whatsoever. It has nothing to do with normal families looking for a home. It has nothing to do with supply and demand. It has everything to do with 0% interest rates. The $3.5 trillion in QE injected, with the banks buying up the toxic real estate, then the Fed taking over and buying it from them. The banks keeping the homes off the market, all the foreclosures. The hedge funds, investment companies, the foreigners coming in and purchasing these homes for cash, holding on to these homes and trying to rent them. If they can't rent them, they hold on to them to drive the prices back up. The Federal Reserve created the last housing bubble, and they created this new one. And guess what? It's going to pop. The stock market bubble is going to pop. Derivative bubble is going to pop. The student loan bubble is going to pop. The bond bubble is going to pop. We are heading down a path where things are all coming to a head. We see the U.S. government central bankers are saying they're looking at ending the NSA bulk collection of everyone's information. Of course, as we know, it expires 12 a.m. on May 31st. And we know the Senate is coming in to vote on this. And it doesn't matter if it continues or it expires. They're never going to stop collecting the data. Actually, if it does expire, the NSA says, well, we're going to keep all the phone records we have. Even if it ends, makes no difference to us. And even if they push through the USA Freedom Act, all they're doing is moving who's spying on you from the government to the corporations. And the corporations will then just transfer that information over to the government, so the government can just say, we're not spying on Americans. All they're having now is the corporations do it for them. We see out in Ukraine, things are really starting to build up there. We have information of chemical weapons that might be used in the Donbass region. We see the Ukraine forces are continually shelling the Donetsk area. It has not stopped. We see the United States is going to nominate Poroshenko for a Nobel Peace Prize. What has he done to deserve a peace prize? He is a puppet government that was placed into Ukraine. It must be the same nominating committee that nominated President Obama when he did absolutely nothing. And all we're seeing is war, and he won the Peace Prize. And I have nothing against the Nobel Peace Prize, but I believe that this is not looking good for everyone else that has one, because it's starting to become meaningless at this point. We see in the Black Sea, U.S. Navy destroyer USS Ross decided to sail very close to Russian waters. And Russia sent off their Su-24 jets to intercept. Of course, the corporate media doesn't really make a big deal out of this. They make a big deal when it's the opposite way, saying, oh, Russia was coming towards the United States or towards France or towards Sweden or Norway or the UK, and we had to send jets up. Well, the US is doing the same thing. And they've done it many, many times. It's just that the corporate media doesn't report on it. And basically what happened was Russia, they sent their jets up, they intercepted the destroyer, and, it veered off. And they do this often to push each other's buttons to see how they would react. Spain has signed an agreement with the U.S. allowing it to make its presence at a military base in the southwest of the country permanent now. Now, the U.S. will be able to station up to about 3,000 troops, more than triple the size of the current contingent. The Pentagon now can augment the number of servicemen, and they're going to increase the troops from 850 to 3,000. And we can see the military aircraft stationed at the base can now grow from 14 to 40. Again, more military assets being moved all over the place to get ready for this war. This is what it's been building up to right now. Out in the Middle East, in Syria, we understand the United States government central bankers has the Islamic State, which is their proxy army, and that army is going to be used to remove Assad. But we see Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. He's saying the U.S. should form a military strategy with President Assad to fight the Islamic State. But we know the U.S. would never do this because it is their proxy army. And also, the spokesman, a State Department spokesman, Jeff Rathke, he's told reporters that the U.S. position remains strong. Assad has lost his legitimacy. He has no future in Syria, and he must go. Their goal has always been the same. It's never changed. And they will not work with Russia, but I think Russia's putting it out there to show the world that they really don't want to get rid of the Islamic State. They're really going after Assad. We see the White House now is pushing the authorization for war. We know the authorization for war is pending in Congress. It's going nowhere. The polls are showing that the American people are not for war. But the White House yesterday has condemned Congress for ongoing talk about the authorization for the use of military force against the Islamic State, saying they should simply sign off on what the president wants. We need to move forward with the authorization for war. And now they're going to be pushing for it. It only took time. They wanted to see what Congress was going to do. Now they're going to use some type of an event to push this forward. Because at this point in time, it has no traction. And Congress is just sitting on it. And they realize they really need to push this through. And that's what they're going to do at this point in time. And we're going to see things occur most likely come this summer. It seems like everything is starting to build up. It seems like the Ukraine war is going to be pushed forward. It looks like the Middle East, the war there is going to be pushed forward. It's going to be a push to get rid of Assad. And they need this authorization for war. And this is what we're seeing right now. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.